Hello, Joe from the Academy here, and in this short 5 in 5 video we're going to be taking you through jigs for your flatbed UV device. Number 1. What is a jig? A jig is essentially a template that is used normally in UV flatbed digital printing. These printers normally come with a table or a flatbed which has no markings for your item that you want to print onto. So if you use a template, it means that you have a default position where you know your items are going to be placed, so you can create a design file that would align to those positions. This is very useful if you're using items that tend to move about on the bed. For example, here we've shown a jig that's filled with pens. This means that the pens are held in position and you know where they are located. This makes it much easier when you're doing batch work or multiple jobs because you can create one jig which is for printing and one for loading, and you can swap those over as you're printing. So a jig is essentially a template which lets you know where you're going to be printing. Number 2, do you need a jig? Good question. You don't necessarily need a jig. It kind of depends on what you're printing. As you can see in these two images, if you're just printing a one-off of an item or an item that doesn't need to be held in place, then you don't necessarily need a jig. A jig just makes it easier and quicker for reproduction. So the image that you can see on the left, in this one we just printed a template and it's not got any cutouts or anything, so the items don't sit within the jig, they just sit on top of a template. This is a very simple form of a jig, but if your item does not move around, is not an awkward shape, it can just be placed in the 0, 0 position in the XY axes on your table, and then your software will be used to line that up. If you are using items that are very strange in shape or that tend to move around and need a recess to sit into, then a jig can be used. And as you can see in this image, we've actually just used a bit of putty to hold that item in place. Number 3, how do you design a jig? We've actually done a full video which is on our YouTube channel. You can see the link on the screen there. The video is called Designing Jigs for your Roland DG Versa UV Flatbed Printer. That video goes into a bit more depth with how you can create your jigs. However, in essence, all you need to do is create a design file in your chosen design package, and this would normally marry up to the size of the bed of your machine. So in this example that we've shown here, we've created a template which is the same size as one of our UV devices. You would then create the shapes of the items that you're going to be printing onto. In here, in this example, we've just made up a shape just to show you how you can create a template. You can create duplicates or multiples of these jobs, as many as you can fit onto the table. You can also create these in different items or different shapes. It does not have to be exactly the same shape. You'd normally create as many as you can onto the bed, and then you use this file to export, which you would then use for printing. This is how you design a jig. Number 4, how do you use a jig? Well, once you have this design file, you can then specify certain areas. You can see in this image that we've used some diaries, and we've created a scan of that diary to then create the templates for the jig. These would align to the same file that you created to create the jig. This gives you your design file, which means that you can export this and then bring this into VersaWorks. If you export this as a PDF and your artboard is the same size as your print area, then this means that the two will align perfectly. So when you've saved this PDF, you can then bring that into VersaWorks, and this will align perfectly to the jig that you have placed onto your table. Once you've finally finished that stage and you've brought it into VersaWorks and you've set up the print ready to go, then it's just a case of setting up the printer ready to print. And in order to do that, you just need to use the menu panel on the machine, which is a very quick and easy process. Number 5, where can you get jigs? A common question that we often get asked is, where can you purchase jigs, or where can you get jigs for your different device items, print items? This very much depends on the type of the item that you're going to be printing. You can make these yourself, as shown in this image here. This was just a sheet of foam board which was cut, so printed first on the machine and then cut to create recesses for the items to sit into. This is a very simple way of creating your own jigs. You can use the gloss channel in the machine to create ridges to print your gloss, to create a lip that your item can sit into. Or if you had something such as a laser device, then you could cut your own jigs as well. And here are a few sites where you can get extra jigs from suppliers as well. I hope you found this video useful. Do check out our other videos for more information as well.